Hey there, I'm back again, and now we're back in the Haven. Now, I pretty much resolved every matter that I needed in the fallow mire.
Tell Mother Giselle, I run a business, not a charity.
I'm quickly going to sell whatever I've got, so that includes the valuables. Let's sell all of this. Hold on. Did I see? Oh, okay, so that's not... Oh, hey. I'll take that back. I didn't know you'd sell that kind of stuff there, too. Okay, so let's see what we don't. We don't need this. We don't need that. We don't need that anymore. Relevant officer. Warlord's greatsword I'll keep, or I'll keep most of this. This can stay too. This, get rid of this, this. Pretty much any of this and this. And this, I'll keep a few of these things. I think I'll just get rid of this and this and this. On crafting items, I'm keeping it all, and that's pretty much that. I think I'm pretty good here. Now, I've talked to most anybody already enough times not to know they have nothing new to say, so, except for one guy. Mustachio! Dorian.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Wait, I
When
got
you spend your days teaching the chant of light, it's too easy to get caught up in the organization of it all. It's easy to forget the reality. Andraste leading her army, fighting for justice.
But why? That's the part that really matters. And if the Herald walked out of the Fade with Andraste's blessing upon him, that has to be a good thing, doesn't it?
Yes, a wonderful thing.
I know I'm a wonderful thing. I'm awesome! That's nothing new. Hey, Dor. Hey, Mustachio.
It occurs to me that you're a mage.
Yep.
That just occurred to you. I meant, you must have been part of the circle of magi in the south.
Yep.
Meaning, you were locked away like a criminal, at least until you rebelled. It's such a bizarre notion to me.
Hence the rebellion.
Why do you think we rebelled? A lack of civilized entertainment, clearly. I've been to your southern taverns.
Hey, there's nothing wrong here.
Surprising that everyone would take the idea of a mage inquisitor so calmly. Maybe it's not calm. Maybe the Antivan crows are swimming in gold from all the contracts on your life. Good
That's
luck,
not
by
making
the
me
way.
feel good.
Grand fun being the one in charge.
I want to know more about you,
It
Dor.
occurs to me that I barely know anything about you.
Beyond my being a mage from Tevinter, you mean?
Beyond the
that,
obvious, yes.
And beyond my being so charming and well-dressed, which is obvious to anyone.
If you say so.
You certainly think highly of yourself.
It's true. I could be more modest, but I'd be lying. Now, what was I talking about? Ah, yes, me. I am the scion of House Parvis, a product of generations of careful breeding and the repository of its hopes and dreams. Naturally, I despised it all. The lies, the scheming, the illusions of supremacy. That's Tevinter in a nutshell, isn't it? Needless to say, my family was not happy with my choices.
So, wait. He rebelled against his own family?
Why would your family be upset with your choices?
Because I rejected their idyllic plan. If they had their way, by now I'd be married to some unlucky girl from a powerful family. We'd live in luxurious despair, despising each other as I waited to take my father's place in the magisterium.
That sounds
I
lovely.
declined the honor, and thus it's best I'm far from home. Less of an embarrassment that way, you see.
So you don't like your own homeland? That's unusual from Tevinters.
I'm getting the impression that you don't care much for your homeland.
On the contrary, I care for my homeland a great deal. There's so much potential. Sadly, we squander it. We refuse to acknowledge how far we've fallen because pretending is easier. We pretend the Qunari can be beaten. We pretend that we're superior to everyone, even our own people. Not everyone feels that way. I don't. Sadly, we're the minority.
Why do you care?
It just seems... so much of what you say about the Imperium is entirely negative.
It might sound that way. For all our faults, my people have many virtues. We are laden with history and culture. Tevinter is where Thedas truly began, remember? We treasure our past and preserve it. You can walk down a side street and find nothing built during the modern ages. And despite appearances, we care. Deeply. About everything. We have no reserve, not in war and not in love. If I truly believed my homeland was beyond all hope, I wouldn't miss it so much.
Careful breeding. Yeah, what the hell is that about? When I just hear him say that, my brain went like, what? Breeding?
What do you mean by generation
You're not a cow!
careful breeding?
The great families of Tevinter don't have children. They refine traits, weed out the undesirable, and promote the rest. My mother was chosen for my father because magic runs strongly in her blood. Never mind that they loathed each other. They wanted a son.
I can already imagine the family
to make
dinners.
House Parvis the envy of the Imperium. They got me. A cautionary tale that you should be careful what you wish for.
Why not go back?
Why remain with the Inquisition? Why not go back to Tevinter?
I'm not exactly welcome back home. Not that it matters. I'm quite accustomed to being a pariah.
Probably
That's to my
envious
charm.
about the mustache, I guess.
I can do more for Tevinter here. If the Venatori succeed, it'll set my homeland back 1,000 years. I'm
Really?
sure some magisters would disagree, but that's why we kill them.
Okay, I like that mindset.
I think I've heard enough.
That's too bad. I never tire of talking about myself.
Let's talk about the Imperium.
I'd like to ask you about Tevinter.
Ah, yes. Everyone outside the Imperium always seems quite fascinated by
Hey, I
it.
just want to know what it's
Probably
like.
why they come up with so many ridiculous tales. Flying cows over Minrathous. It's madness. All right, that was actually true, but the cows didn't have wings. I digress. Anything in particular you wanted to know?
Do mages truly rule there? I believe they do.
It seems strange that an entire empire would be ruled by mages.
For us, that
Right.
is.
Why are you less qualified to rule than some tart with a fancy crown? Actually, the fiction in the Imperium is that mages don't rule. The Magisterium rules. That magisters are all mages is considered a convenient technicality.
Okay. The Magisterium. But isn't that what magisters are?
What is the Magisterium exactly?
The upper house of the Imperial Senate, and the only part worth having a seat on. Those seats are split among the circles of Magi, the Chantry, and the major families. All mages now.
Ah.
It's odd that outside the Imperium, you use Magister like it applies to every Tevinter mage.
Then you're just a Tevinter mage?
If you're not a magister, then what are you called? No special title?
I'm an Altus, which is almost as good as a Magister, depending on who you ask.
You need to explain what an altus is to me.
I've never heard of an Altus.
Upper class. Those families who trace descent from the Dreamers, the first prophets of the old gods. If you're a mage and you're not Altus, then you're later. Lower class.
Oh.
If you're not a mage at all, you're Soperati. That's everyone else. We do love our fancy words.
Apparently so, yeah. What about the Archon?
I thought the Archon ruled over the Imperium.
Well, yes. Technically, he can overrule laws passed by the Magisterium, but that never happens. Even so, he gets to appoint new Magisters, which means all the families vie madly for his favor. Thus, the Archon gets invited to all the parties. The truest path to Tevinter influence, let me tell you.
Sounds great. More social bullshit.
If it's a fiction, that means mages do rule then.
Yes and no.
Huh?
Let me put it this way. Mages do rule, but not all mages are equal.
Oh.
If you're not from the right family, chances are you don't rule anything. Maybe you're even a slave. The idea that anyone could be a mage, however, keeps the masses placated.
Ah, I got the picture. If you're a mage, you got a chance.
Can anyone be a mage?
Technically, the potential runs mostly in bloodlines, but it's been known to happen. More importantly, commoners believe it can. Tevinter legend is chock full of mage heroes from humble origins.
Oh, great.
So they hold out hope. Someday my son or my son's son will be a mage. Someday. Poor sods don't realize that means he'll be a quaestor at the arse end of the 100 Pillars, at best.
And that's a bad thing?
Being a quaestor isn't a good thing.
I imagine the average non-mage likes to think so. Counting numbers and shuffling papers all day is better than many occupations after all. If you're a second-class citizen among a pack of
Paperwork.
piranha, however, your outlook changes.
Okay, I get the picture.
Let me ask you something else.
Of course.
The Imperium has a chantry?
There's an imperial chantry, isn't there? With its own divine.
You people aren't supposed to talk about the Black Divine, are you? If you
Actually,
mention
no.
him outside the Imperium, people make that face, like you're urinating in public.
I am?
Yes, we do have the Chantry, or a version of it. Night and day comparing it to yours.
So, what's it like? Is it really that
the
different?
imperial chantry so different from ours?
Not in theory. The main difference is in the whole magic is meant to serve man, not rule over him business. Back home, ruling the unwashed masses is serving them, for the good of the Imperium. Perhaps it started with good intentions, but these days it's academic. The circles are in command.
You have circles. Well, I've heard from Fenders how that works. The circles are basically just the seats of power throughout the
There are
Imperium.
circles of magi in the Imperium.
We don't have dismal little mage prisons, if that's what you mean. They're academies, prestigious ones.
Oh, yeah.
We have Templars as well, but they don't cancel spells or whatever your Templars do. They're soldiers.
They don't use lyria.
Ha! As if there'd be any left for them. They watch for abuse of magic, yes, but only those who are weak or who fall out of favor get dealt with. Mostly they enforce
So they're
the
just attack
magisterium's
dogs for
edicts.
whatever
The
rich
Chantry smiles and nods from
asshole.
the sidelines.
Sounds really worse.
Do you really call him the Black Divine?
We don't call him that, oh no.
Oh, boy.
In the Imperium, he's the true divine. The woman sitting on the Sunburst throne is some backwater pretender. It all stems from a disagreement over Andraste. Marvelous, isn't it?
Wait, what? A disagreement? Oh, this I gotta hear.
Why would they disagree over Andraste?
Let me guess, they think
Not
she's
my
a mage.
field of expertise, but the Imperium believes Andraste was a mortal woman, a mage. Down south, they say, no, she's the bride of the Maker, ascended to his side, divine provenance, a blah blah blah. We feel better believing Andraste was one of us. Makes executing her less damning, you see. So we elected a man as divine, the South declared war, and we've been feuding cousins ever since.
I just noticed it, yeah. Your divine is male?
So the imperial divine is always a man.
All the better to distinguish him from that other one, yes. Don't think there aren't a number
So it's
of
just
female mages
a way to say...
like that.
So they're basically just
Why
flipping
can't
off
they
the
be
original
now?
chantry with this.
Same reason you never see a man on the Sunburst throne. Because that's how it's always been done. Excellent reasoning.
Are you religious?
Do you consider yourself Andrastian?
The big question.
It's
It
not
might
that big.
surprise you that I do consider myself Andrastian. I simply do not believe in the Chantry. It is a relic, whether back home or here in the south. Something from a bygone age desperately clinging to relevance. It's not an opinion that makes me popular.
It is a bit outdated, I have to admit. I gotta agree with him there.
I share your opinion, actually.
That's not surprising, considering what the Inquisition represents. I'll say this. I may not believe in the Chantry, but I believe in you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
In me.
That the Maker sent you, whether through Andraste or fate. Cassandra is not wrong. You are what we needed most at the moment we needed it. That's what they will say in ages to come.
I'm surprised you think that, I gotta admit.
You don't seem like the religious sort, to be honest.
If you define religious as sitting in a chantry and listening to a blithering hen tell you how to live, then no. If you define it as believing in the possibility that something larger than yourself exists, then yes. by all means.
Okay.
The world is bigger than I, even bigger than you. It
Yeah,
laughs at all
pretty
the
much.
things we think we know. The Maker doesn't need me to believe, but I do. The thought of no one at all watching out for us is too frightening.
I want to ask something else.
Let me ask you something else.
So many questions.
I'm a curious human being. Could the Winter be an ally?
I'm wondering if the Imperium would be a useful ally.
Doubtful.
I think you'd be more concerned whether or not they'd support the Venatori. They won't, of course. At least, not officially. They'll disavow all knowledge of dangerous
But
cults.
they don't really go against them.
Many Magisters will rejoice at the idea. And if the South falls to chaos in the meantime, all the better.
So that's smart of them.
It would be in the Imperium's best interest to help. Surely it could use allies.
I think the Imperium gave up on the idea of allies a long time ago.
Especially with the
We've
Gennari
been
thing, I
fighting
think.
the Gennari for what? 200 years off and on? It's a point of pride that we go it alone. They'll sneer at the South behind their silk handkerchiefs and say, "You've had it easy for far too long." Let's not forget that the Inquisition seems to be an arm of the Orlesian Chantry. Anathema so far as they're concerned.
But we're not.
We're not part of the Chantry. The Chantry opposed the Inquisition's formation.
You think that matters? Don't be silly. The Herald of Andraste. Your very title smacks of the Southern Chantry. You may as well be a heathen. I think they're far more frightened what you'll do if you succeed.
Okay, is blood magic common? You even have to ask, it's just kind of dumb, but okay, we'll go with it.
Just how often is blood magic used there?
Daily.
Oh, not at all.
What?
Not at all.
That's what any Magister would tell you.
Oh.
They'd be convincingly offended by the notion too.
Uh-huh.
Of course, what people call blood magic here and what we consider blood magic are two different things.
What's the difference?
What's considered actual blood magic in Tevinter?
Blood magic isn't inherently dangerous. Using your own blood or that of a willing participant, what's the harm?
Who the hell is willing for
Problem
that
is
shit?
that what's permitted only gets you so much power. And what if you need more? You always need more.
Yeah,
That's where we
that's
get
always
into
where it goes,
sacrifices
doesn't it?
and demon summoning. None of that is done. Not officially. Behind closed doors, it's a different story. Real blood magic can give you an edge, a leg up against your opponents. It's safe to assume that any mage of rank does it. The rest are quietly shut out of power, to put it bluntly.
So, no Templar intervention. Nope. Don't think so. They're assholes, the whole bunch of them.
You'd think the Templars would object.
I imagine they did, long ago. Once, their investigations might have been sincere. Then their balls were cut off. Too inconvenient.
Of course.
Nowadays, only the friendless are accused. Most of them probably innocent.
And yep, no, nobody of influence is disagreeing with this.
There must be some mages who oppose this.
Of course. I do. And I'm not entirely alone. Occasionally, there'll be a magister who makes noise. And then the reform talk begins. All very patriotic. Meanwhile, that magister will be quietly shunned. Chances are, surprise, it's learned he was a Maleficar all along. Most learn to keep quiet. Me? I enjoy the allure of pariahhood.
So, yeah, the slavery is still going on there. That's known, but still, let's go with it.
Anyone who talks about the Imperium mentions slavery. It's the center of the slave trade.
Pretty much.
Ah. That is true.
And? Did you have slaves?
Not personally, but my family does and treats them well. Honestly, I never thought much about it until I came south. Back home, it's how it is. Slaves are everywhere. You don't question it. I'm not even certain many slaves do.
You're saying they like it?
You think slaves like it that way? Don't be ridiculous.
I didn't say they like it. It's all most of them know. In the south, you have alienages, slums, both human and elven. The desperate have no way out. Back home, a poor man can sell himself. As a slave, he could have a position of respect, comfort, and could even support a family. Some slaves are treated poorly, it's true. But do you honestly think inescapable poverty is better?
Treated poorly?
Is that what you call it? Treated poorly?
Abuse heaped upon those without power isn't limited to Tevinter, my friend. I don't know what it's like to be a slave, true. I never thought about it until I saw how different it was here. But I suspect you don't know either. Nor should you believe that every tale of Tevinter excess is the norm.
Okay, okay, I get the picture. Maybe it's not as evil as everybody makes it.
That's all I wanted to know.
Fair enough.
And that's enough.
I should go.
Naturally.
So at least we got some more info out of the about the Tevinter game. Well, thing. Interesting. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.